Hello and welcome. You're watching FYI. I'm Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. The petrol prices, diesel prices, prices of milk, of oil, they have all gone up. But how much? Just to give you a perspective, sample this. In just about 300 days, 283 to be precise, petrol prices went from 75 to 104. Diesel prices, just 283 days, went from 67 to 93. Since the 1st of January this year, petrol has been up 25% and diesel up by 26%. Why is that happening? When all of us know by now that the crude oil prices have actually gone down. What is this leading to? What is expected to be a cascading impact of this? And is there a solution really that one can look at? And if not, are things to get much worse from here on? That's our discussion on FYI. Let's get started with our explainer. We thought first let's tell you and bring you up to speed with what exactly is the price of petrol and diesel when it comes to the top metros in the country. In Delhi, for example, petrol at the moment is 104. Who would have imagined? Diesel 93. Mumbai, petrol 110. Diesel 101. Kolkata, petrol 105. Diesel 96, Chennai petrol 101, diesel 97, Bengaluru petrol is 108, diesel is 98. But let's take a look at what exactly happened in the last 2 years. And in 2020, how exactly it began was that petrol was at 75 and diesel at about 67 in Delhi. In fact, between January and December, crude oil prices actually fell about 23%. But because the Indian government raised taxes, what you paid for petrol and diesel actually went up by about 10% there. But this year, crude oil prices have actually shot up as well. Nor have the taxes been cut. That is why it is the combination of both these things that means that you are now paying a record price. Got that connection over there, right? That's exactly how the taxes that the government is levying on the crude oil, on petrol and diesel, and then the price of crude oil, both of them together is the reason why you're paying so much. Now, what this means is that your kitchen budget is impacted. Soya oil is up 46.15%. Mustard oil is also up 43%. Naspati is up 43% over there, and sunflower oil also up 38.48%. Not exactly related with petrol and diesel, but all this means what? That you and I are paying much more for traveling, for cooking, and this is the festive season. Then after all, this is going to have adverse impact. Who are the people most impacted? Well, essential commodities extremely impacted. People who have obviously milk and other services, even your freight price will go up for your vegetables and your fruits as well. Unprecedented increase in LPG and edible oils as well. Rice and pulses and cereals is happening. Again, the diesel price going up means you will be paying higher for them. Oil brands by big companies have seen a steep hike as well. And of course, all those with personal vehicles are directly impacted. They are the number one people who get impacted. Increase in commodity prices like food, medicines, FMCG products also. Surge in edible oil, surge in online delivery charges. Such an essential part of your household budget these days. Rise in public transport charges as well. Vehicle sales may see a dip now in this season where lots of new cars are being launched and it's Diwali season and people want to buy, etc. But people again thinking, with these prices, well, how do you do that? And consumers again suffer with low disposable income and high taxes as of this moment. Already pandemic breaking their back when it comes to finances. Fuel price inflation, again, that means hurts your overall inflation. And the question then is, will the government control these prices? Since they're controlling the prices even now, but they're ready to wait it out and see how exactly does it impact inflation. All right. So that is something that one has to keep in mind. There are lots of permutation and complex problems to solve when it comes to solving the price issue in times like these we live in. But we try to sort of decode that for you on the program, and that's why we've got an excellent panel really to give you insight on how it's done and what is it that the government is thinking, and then what should be your expected price on these things in the coming months. R.S. Pandey, who's a former Petroleum Secretary, joins us today. Also with us is Ray Dhanwal. He's an expert on oil and energy. Joining us today is Sanchita Mukherjee, back with us on FYI to give us more insight into how the macro management of it all really works, and she will really cut it down to the basics for us. Also, D.K. Sarraf is with us, former CMT ONGC and former chairman, and we'll try to understand from him. And then Captain Shweta Mishra joins us. She's a homemaker and a former army officer as well, and for her, what exactly is the household budget looking like is a crucial question. So let me begin with you, Shweta, today. I just broke down in numbers and percentages on what this price rise has meant on various products. Tell me, how are you seeing it in your household budget?
Wow, good evening. This is a revelation to me that the taxes part is still with the government, and then controlling of it is still feasible at government level. See, COVID times had been tough. Every household had been focusing a large chunk of their income on healthcare. It was very highly focused. With now most families being vaccinated, people are thinking of, certainly are in celebratory mood with Diwali coming and Navratri ongoing.
Some good news, waiting for some good news there.
We are. In fact, most of our purchasing and all our, shopping was scheduled for this time. And at this point in time, we hear about the raise in petrol and diesel prices, which is a shocker. Even if we, try to allocate some budget, go out in the market, most likely, as I hear from the maids, from the people around, the small time vendors are not there on the streets. That diya wala, that Lakshmi Ganesh statue banane wala, that flower wala, that florist vendor on the streets, they have just vanished because of these already raised petrol and diesel prices, which makes them difficult to come to the metros, because these people are usually from the smaller cities and smaller villages. So they've just vanished from the market. So tougher for us to celebrate. Moreover, this is the time, you have already mentioned that this is the time we in Hindus plan our upgrade of equipment. Dhanteras is the time when our electronic gadgets and equipment look for an upgrade, whether it is a mobile, whether it is a mixie, microwave, even the vehicle like you mentioned. So this is the time when we look for, better versions of it. But with the petrol hike, it will have certainly the multiplier effect, and we will have to have a second thoughts whether we should go for it or not. And hearing that the things are still in the hands of government, wherein, last year the taxes were increased and they can simply be taken back, and, power can be given in the hands of consumer, then I think there is a silver lining where government can act and help us out. So that's
all right, Shweta, you've brought in a beautiful perspective, not just of how you're managing your own kitchen, but also what you're seeing on the street. So crucial to understand how at multifold levels we're actually seeing the pandemic still have an impact on the economy. And then that's why many are asking, is this the right time to be levying these taxes? Let me take that question to Mr. R.S. Pandey, former Petroleum Secretary, joining us. Mr. Pandey, there are several people like Shweta who are asking the same question today. Why now? Do you have an answer?
Yes, petrol and diesel prices have reached unprecedented level, as you rightly said. And why it is so? Because of the element of taxation, which is very, very heavy. Now, although the retail price of petrol and diesel today is unprecedented level, crude prices have gone even beyond what it is today in the past. When I was Petroleum Secretary, it was 2008. At that point of time, crude had reached a level of $147 a barrel. Even 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14, the average for the whole year was above 100. Today, it is much less than that, although it is sharply increasing. Now, why is it that earlier the retail prices were not as high as it is today because the excise duty and VAT have really gone up. Now, if you are paying more than 100 rupees for petrol in Delhi today, the base price is only 42, 43 rupees. The rest is the element of taxes.
Right.
And 2/3 is the excise duty and the balance is the state VAT. Now, this is really posing a very, very undue burden on the consumers, like she just said. And who is the sufferer? The common man, the poor man. 99% of petrol is used for transportation. Look at the plight of the two-wheelers. How much they have to really pay. So, for the alleviating the distress on the common man, it is necessary that the duties have to be brought down. Look at the countries around.
These are very, Mr. Pandey, if I can interject as of this moment. I understand it, you've laid it out very clearly. That if the price is about 101 as of this moment of Delhi, you're actually, the base price is just about 46, 47, right? That you said. Rest, everything else is just taxes, right?
Yes,
I just want to take that question to
yes,
DK Saraf next, who's a former CMD ONGC and former chairman of PNGRB as well. Then, DK Saraf, tell me, why now? I'm unable to get that answer. What is the government thinking?
So far as the petrol and diesel prices are concerned, there is a set. And the formula starts with the not crude oil, but the petrol and diesel prices which are prevailing in the Middle East. To that is added the ocean freight and the insurance from Middle East to India. Then the port charges which the oil companies have to pay. Added to that is custom duty, which is just 2.5%. Then the normal freight, etc., the normal expenses of the oil companies, which they have to pay, and the return on their capital employed, the dealer commission, all that has to be added. And it's a set formula. And it's not something which is there, something new. And to that is added then the excise.
Yeah, that's understood. But I'm saying, why this amount of taxation at a time like this, when festivals are upon us, and all of us, especially after the second wave, like Shweta just put it out, are just waiting for one reason to smile, really.
Oh, this taxation is there for last 2.5 years. The tax on petrol and diesel, they were earlier reviewed in March and May 2019. After, they have not been increased. So after that, only the crude oil prices have increased. Or other the petrol and diesel prices globally have increased, or the dollar rupee parity has changed. So the only two factors. Everything else is same.
Okay, good point you've made on how these prices have actually not changed in the past 2.5 years. Let me bring in Ms. Danwal at this point. Then how has the pandemic not made the government revise this?
No, yeah. So
I'll come back to you, sir. Let Shivnati Ray Danwal please respond to that, please.
Well, that's Shivnati Ray Danwal.
Yeah.
Anyway, actually, good evening. See, during the pandemic, till April 2020, the price of oil per barrel was just about $12. Suddenly, you find that demand has shot up, and that was because demand had fallen drastically. There was oversupply in the market. Suddenly now, after the economic recovery, demand has escalated even beyond our expectations. And at the same time, there is a lot of politics going on. As somebody said, that it's the Middle East. It's not just the Middle East. Oil, after all, is a global commodity. And when the prices had really fallen, OPEC and all the other oil producers had all decided to cut production. Now, there is a long gestation period between actually producing an oil and putting it into the market. So a lot of oil is produced. But mostly the price rise has been because of OPEC politics.
I see, and it is this OPEC politics that we want to return to. I know Sanchita is also waiting very patiently. I have to slip into a break because we're getting some audio feedback. Let's just fix that very quickly in that audio break. And I'll come back to Sanchita, who will really break down for us what exactly is happening at the global level when it comes to price of petrol and diesel. That's coming up. Stay tuned. You're watching FYI. Welcome back. Let's go back to our panel. Let's go to Sanchita now. Sanchita, you've been listening in patiently about how we've discussed. What have we got so far? We've got that most of the money that you're paying for your petrol and diesel is actually taxes. What we've also understood is that there was no change in the taxes and the same thing remains which was in place before the pandemic. So there is no pandemic change either. But third, what we need to understand now is there a global factor at play and how exactly this trade of oil really happens? Just break that down for us, please.
Absolutely. Very happy to. Thank you, Sodal. So very interestingly, oil prices have been all over the place. If one were to look at, say, 2012, it was $111, right? NYMEX was 120. Post which there was a huge pricing war which happened between Saudi Arabia and US shale because US shale was at a production high. Saudi Arabia browbeated US to almost $43 in 2016, right? If you were to see India slowdown, which happened in the year 2018 onwards, what was the oil prices then? It was barely around 66. Right, but the economy was slowing for some other reasons at that point in time, essentially credit growth, bad loan on books and all of that. So oil prices is very, very cyclical. It is completely geopolitical in nature and it is all about having pricing control. If you are to see, a lot of people don't understand, say oil producing countries of the world, which are the largest, is actually United States of America, #1. It is also the #1 oil consuming nation of the world. Right, so it is very complex. Second oil producing nation would be Saudi Arabia, Russia, Canada, China. China again, it's the 5th largest oil producing country of the world, but the 2nd largest oil consuming country, followed by India. Now, why does this happen? You would say, okay, United States of America turned net exporter of oil last year, 2020, but they're also the largest importer. How does this happen? It happens because they understand that oil is a depleting resource, right? It may not be available, say 20 years from now onwards. All countries of the world can go for, say, EVs, mobility with solar, fueled by solar power, right? So all of them want to make hay while the sun shines, right? For that, they need to have pricing control. When we are specifically looking at this oil prices, which have happened post-pandemic, it's because when the pandemic happened, nobody anticipated that the pandemic would pan out in this manner and would have this unprecedented demand, which come from consuming countries like India, right? So the capacity was not enlarged in that sense of the word. Now, and also, as I was talking about pricing control, there's a lot of supply cuts that OPEC plus countries do, which is Saudi Arabia, Russia, all of them put together, right? So because of this pricing control and this unprecedented demand which has happened, so this kind of an oil price movement has happened. If you are to ask about inflation and whether we can again touch 120, the answer would be no, because all of these countries operate and trade and make money within a certain range, which also is dependent on their cost of production. Also, let's understand, we are a wealthy nation in today's date, the 3rd largest oil importer in the world. We can negotiate deals. Tomorrow, if OPEC or the OPEC Plus are not listening to India, China, they're well within their rights to go ahead and
I'm running out of time,
negotiate.
Sanchita, so let me just ask you this question. Then instead of raising taxes, which you and I will pay, can the government of India actually negotiate a better price for the basic crude oil? Is that what you're suggesting?
And they've done so. Absolutely. And they've done so in previous years. See, because let me come down to the taxes. Taxes are very important. The dividend income from oil marketing companies, the taxes, these are very important for the government to ramp up its revenue, which is important in a pandemic year because the government has a lot of spending, right? If you are to look at just the central government, look at even the state governments. State governments have all increased their VATs. Why? Because it's a very, very important source of revenue. However, what the government needs to do is they need to look at better pricing, which I think the oil ministry has been making the noises in that regard, saying that if OPEC and the OPEC Plus are not willing to look at better pricing for us, and if they're not willing to open their taps wider and come up with more supply for us, we will actually look at oil from different other countries. Why not? If sanctions from Iran are lifted, we will negotiate a better pricing with Iran, with Venezuela.
So that's a lot of information coming our way, and I really hope our viewers take away that important information once they, understand about what exactly is impacting your household budget over there. Because at the end of the day, Shweta needs to be convinced about why it is happening and if and not it can be controlled. But thank you. That's all on FYI today. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.